Nice one on the mag draft. Look how fat he is. They still pre-spawn up here. What's up, everybody? Cole Sands Fishing here. This is the fishing report for April 10th, 2023. Let's get into this week's report. So this week's report is brought to you by one of my awesome sponsors, Yozuri. Y'all hear me talk about them just about every week. Man, they make some great products, so y'all be sure to support me by buying some of their products and helping me out there. But let's get into this week's report. The past week, the fishing's been pretty good on Chickamauga. You know, we've been averaging, it seems like a slow day, we're catching 20 fish. A good day, we're catching 50 or 60. There's a lot of fish up shallow right now, a lot of fish trying to spawn, thinking about spawning. And a lot of the fish, you know, they're on that last little bit of cover. If they're not spawning, maybe the last little deep rocky bank or any little stumpy area. I think there's fish that spawn on the stumps, and I think there's fish that stage on the stumps as well. But definitely a fun time of year right now to go out and catch a lot of fish. Now the size, you got to weed through a lot of fish. You know, it seems like you got to catch 10 or 15 fish to catch a good 4+ pounder. But it's still fun. You know, you're getting a lot of bites, and I'll talk about my trips the past week, and then we'll get into what I think is going to work this week and what I think is going to work going forward. The past week, I ran trips. I fished Monday, but I think I already talked about that in last week's fishing report. Fished Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on Chick. Fished Monday as well. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it was all pretty much the same deal. I fished shallow areas. I thought the fish would be spawning anywhere from 1 foot to 5 or 6 foot. Stumpy areas, any laydowns, especially the laydowns that were like the last little bit of deeper water. By deeper, I mean like 3 or 4 foot before like a really shallow area. Those seem to be good. Rocky transition banks, rocky banks leading back to spawning areas. We did good off those. And then that was pretty much it. Caught some nice fish last week off some docks. I did mix in a little bit of grass, caught a few. It didn't seem to be the predominant pattern by any means, but definitely the fish are trying to spawn. We did catch several fish off bed Thursday. And Thursday we actually did catch a couple fish offshore as well, but I think those were actually pre-spawn fish. I don't think they were post-spawn. We got some fish in like 10 to 12 foot of water on some shell and some stumps. But really, it seemed like focusing on 1 foot of water to 6 foot, throwing finesse stuff was definitely our main pattern last week. But I'll kind of quickly run through what baits worked and kind of what I think will work in the upcoming weeks. Did I not? Apparently, I didn't bring one of my rods in, but that's all good. First, we'll start with the power stuff first, and then we'll talk about what caught most of the fish. Did catch several last week on a jig. Threw it on bed a lot. Just throwing like a 3/8 ounce or a 1/2 ounce jig. Whatever crawl trailer you like. Threw that one a little bit. Also threw the Fishco, the chunk that they make. It's a really good chunk for a finesse style jig. I really like the finesse style jig a lot when it comes to bed fishing, especially. They just get it in their mouth a lot better. You kind of your risk of getting them hooked outside the mouth, especially tournament fishing, isn't nearly as bad. But just taking that jig, flipping it around, like I said, some isolated laydowns, some shallow laydowns, and then flipping it on bed fish. 20-pound Yozuri T7 fluorocarbon. Also flipped this jig around docks last week too and had some success. 7.2 heavy action Voodoo 2 Witch Doctor tackle rod. Really a great setup. I like a 7.2 when it comes to flipping docks and wood. I just feel like I'm going to be a lot more accurate with it. A 7.6 or longer, I like a lot flipping grass, but when it comes to flipping wood, I like that little bit shorter rod. That 7.2 heavy, it's got a good tip on it. I can put that jig or that creature bait, whatever you like to flip, like a Texas rig creature bait could be just as good as a jig. But I like really throwing a jig this time of year because there's a lot of brim up there shallow, and a jig, imitates a bluegill pretty good. Also caught fish this week and this past week throwing a 6-inch mag draft around, just shad color. For this, I like a 7.6 heavy action Witch Doctor tackle rod. I just like it because I can throw it out there a long way. You can tell this one right here has been chewed up pretty good. I also went smallmouth fishing with it today and caught several fish on it. 20-pound line there, like a 7:3-to-1 gear ratio. You can go with a 6, but I like a 7. And that's the 7.6 heavy Shaman series Witch Doctor tackle rod. Just throwing that thing kind of everywhere. Throwing it shallow around some stumps, throwing it on some windblown points, throwing it on some laydowns, some rocky banks. It's just a really good bait to cover water with this time of year. Also caught some nice fish last week on a Yozuri glide bait, the Ninja Twitch glider. I don't think they make it anymore, but it is a really sweet glide bait. And with that, I was same deal, kind of throwing it everywhere, really targeting anywhere I think there might be one big fish. Definitely targeted some laydowns and some points when it came to that glide bait, but caught a couple nice ones on it last week. And then let's get to the baits that really caught them. One, throwing the drop shot around a lot, throwing it around stumpy areas, just going down the bank with it. Throwing the 6-inch and the 4-inch Fishco finesse worm. That's the green pumpkin blue swirl. It seemed to be really good last week. Caught several fish on it. 10-pound braid to a 10-pound Yozuri T7 fluorocarbon leader. That's also Yozuri super braid. Some of the new Witch Doctor signature series spinning rods that weigh seriously like an ounce. Super sensitive, and definitely I think the best rods he's ever made, especially when it comes to spinning gear. Absolutely love these rods. But throwing a really light weight on that, like an 1/8 ounce. And I did experiment a little bit with the leader size. This is probably about 8 inches, I'd say, from the bait to the weight. But I did go down to like some 4-inch, like a little 4-inch leader, a 3-inch even, especially when I thought the fish were really on bed, because I wanted that bait just right there in their face where they kind of didn't have an option. They either had to bite it or get out of the way. So that drop shot was really good. Like I said, staying shallow, covering water with it. And then probably caught our most fish last week, and y'all hear me talk about it all the time, is I love throwing a light shaky head this time of year. 1/8 ounce shaky head, and then that little worm right there is a killer. I also threw this worm on a drop shot. That's the Green Pumpkin Texas Red. This one's got a little bit more red than most of them, but Green Pumpkin Texas Red, 4-inch finesse worm from Fishco. Just a staple in my boat this time of year. I don't know, it just shut off, but I'll continue. It's just a staple in my boat this time of year. 10-pound Yozuri T7 fluorocarbon, 10-pound braid, and both of these last two rods, and pretty much every rod I throw my finesse stuff on this time of year, is a 7.2 Shaman series Witch Doctor tackle rod in a medium action. I really like a medium. But so the drop shot was good, the shaky head was good. Some days it seemed like they wanted one or the other. Some days they really seemed to want to feed down. Other days they wanted to feed up. But the biggest thing, man, you got to fish slow. If you get in too big of a hurry right now, it seemed like you want to get bit. But if you got in them areas that just looked good, had the stumps, maybe a little bit of gravel, fish slow, we were pretty consistently catching fish. Also, the little deuce from Fishco, I think they're all on my boat right now. But the little deuce, just a little Ned rig style bait. Same thing, like really light. I think we're throwing a 1/10 ounce, caught several fish on it. And same thing with it though, you got to fish slow. The double deuce is also really good, which is a little bit bigger worm. Excuse me, a little bit bigger worm. It's like I don't know, like a 4-inch. Yeah, I think it's a 4-inch. It was also really good as well. And then last but not least, and it's all kind of the same deal when it comes to the finesse deal. It seems like as long as you're throwing something lightweight and not getting in a hurry and just fishing more finesse, you can go behind a lot of people and catch a lot of fish. And then just kind of staying in that shallow, under 6 foot range, stumpy areas, gravel areas, even some flats, we're just catching them on. Did catch a couple out of grass here and there, but then last but not least, something that I like to do this time of year, throwing the 10-pound braid, 10-pound Yozuri T7 fluorocarbon leader, but I get just like a little tiny Texas rig. That's just a little 1/8 ounce. You can even go to a 16th ounce. We had a lot of wind last week, so I went up to an 1/8, and I don't peg it. That's key. And it's putting a little 1/0 hook on there. And I'm taking that same 4-inch Fishco finesse worm. Been throwing it in either the Green Pumpkin Texas Red on here or the peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and jelly has been a really good colors too this past week. Putting it on like a little 1/0 hook and just throwing it out there, just fishing it real slow, reeling it real slow around them stumps. Whenever I feel a stump, just kind of shaking it. And that's definitely been a good bait as well. Caught several fish on it this morning when I got to go out for a little bit. But besides that, that's kind of what I saw this past week. Wacky rig's also been good. Just like a wacky rig Cinco. I've been throwing the Fishco one. It's a 5-inch worm, and just green pumpkin's usually my go-to color. Really anything finesse, like I said, just as long as it's soft plastic, Now, I do think stuff like that green pumpkin Texas red does get bit a little bit better. You'll get a couple bites that other people won't. Definitely, when you get around bedfish, some of the bedfish we saw last week, they seem to really go crazy over that color. You know, they would bite it the first or second flip in there, which is really awesome to see. So definitely, definitely seems to be more of a finesse bite for us. Now, we did fish mainly the lower end of the lake, you know, from like Sale Creek South. And now, if I was fishing the upper end right now, I would probably focus more on flipping wood with a creature bait and a jig. I'd also mix in maybe some square bills around that wood, especially if you get some nasty days. You know, I'd throw some of the Yozuri stuff like the Yozuri 3DB 1.5, square bill. Shad colors this time of year, I'm not really big on the crawl colors near as much this time of year, just because I think they've kind of transitioned more to shad and the shad spawn. Like we're days away from it happening, especially the water's in the right, it's starting to get in that right temperature. So that's something to look out for the next couple of weeks. Now, as the water starts to get up, and the water's still kind of low right now, but as it starts to get in that cover, you know, some of the vegetation on the bank, some of the laydowns and stuff, but especially that vegetation, I will be picking up a Yozuri and a hardcore popper, throwing that around. It's actually time right now to start catching them on it, and I'll probably pick it up a little bit this week. Buzzbait can be really good. And then, you know, the fish are shallow. One thing I like to do right now is pick up just the Yozuri pencil. I usually go with the smaller size. This isn't the smallest. It's the 100 mm. It's just like a good, perfect shad size. I think it's about 4 inches. And I'll throw it up shallow, especially if you get a little wind or something. That's a good way to catch a really nice fish this time of year. But, you know, if I'm throwing that, I'm usually throwing it on either like 15-pound mono, or I will throw it on like 30-pound braid. But with that popper, I really like it more on mono. But that's pretty much it for this week. You know, like I said, pick up some of those Fishco, you know, lures from your local dealer, or you can get them online. And also, if you want to get them online, use the code ColeSands at checkout. I think it saves you 10%. So every little bit helps. So y'all be sure to do that. And that's pretty much it for the week. Y'all, you know, I hope y'all have some good luck on the water. And I think the fishing's going to get really good. I've seen some really nice fish caught the past couple weeks. And I think in the next week or two, you'll see some giants move on bed. I mean, they're moving on bed every day, but I think you'll see some really big ones get caught in the next couple weeks. So good luck to everybody in the water, and I'll catch y'all next time.